Hello, English 111 folks, and welcome to week 6. I hope that everybody has had a chance to read through my feedback on your final literacy narratives. In general, I had a really nice time reading them. It was really lovely to get to know you and your experiences and all of the things that make you who you are. And I put this in my Monday message, but just in case you did not note it, if you are unsatisfied with your grade or if you feel like you could have done better, just contact me and let me know, and we can move forward with some revision options. We only have a few weeks left in our course, so it's going to come fairly quickly. So I want to kind of walk you through the next couple of weeks so that we can get ahead on any questions as we move forward. So the first thing is, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you accept the invitation from Megan Galloway about your final exam. You will have to go sit the final exam at Haywood Community College. So make sure that you make those arrangements. And I'll be contacting people in the next few days if you have not yet booked, so that you can make those arrangements. All right. So moving forward, here we go. All right. So for this week, we are kind of capitalizing on our experience with rhetoric, and we're going to move forward with our rhetorical précis, and we're going to move into a more formal rhetorical précis approach with a one-pager. And then that'll be your cumulative assessment, also known as our SA2, on rhetoric. And then we're going to move next into our collaborative research essay. And so I'm going to kind of show you what the process is going to look like. So I've got the rhetoric readings. These are the same ones from last week, so they're just made available just in case you didn't get a chance to review all of them all the way. The collaborative research project. All right, I will be talking about this in more detail with next week's video, but all of your groups have already been assigned for the collaborative research project, and so all of those are already in, I think, week 7. So what I encourage you to do this week is to just kind of start reading through the material on the collaborative research project so that you can familiarize yourself with the objectives and familiarize yourself with the rubric and what you're going to be expected to do in collaboration with your peers. It's not the main focus of this week, but getting ahead and kind of being proactive about some of those questions is going to be really beneficial. Okay, so next up is going to be, I've got the Space Cat and rhetorical situation. So I've got a few people who have asked me some questions about Space Cat. And so on last week's video, I had a separate lecture that kind of walks through the rhetorical situation and how to apply the visual analysis of how to look through the lens of not just visuals, but also the syntax and the way that the language is set up so that you can analyze the work. And so as you are looking through the rhetorical functions information, just go through and kind of really think about what is the argument that is existing behind a piece. And that's kind of the core of what we're doing here. And so if you had any trouble kind of going through rhetoric, I encourage you to visit the PowerPoint, but then also to revisit my lecture video that's on week 5. Okay. So all right, and so kind of capitalizing on that, there's a lot of information that I threw at you last week. I'm going to be giving you some feedback on your Monday Matters and the rhetorical précis that you did for that, so that you know kind of how to tweak your language for this week. But what you should be doing first this week is rhetoric in real life. And so this one is a little bit more of that practice of seeing the intended audience and the genre, but looking at it as where you see an advertisement or another piece of persuasive propaganda or a political cartoon, just something that you would see in your everyday life, and kind of thinking about the text and the connotations. And so I want you to do this first as a warm up before you get into the one pager and rhetorical précis, which is here. Okay, so I did sample it and I showed you an example last week, but if you didn't get a chance to look at it much or it was just not on the forefront of your mind, this is what it is. So a one pager is basically a piece of visual argumentation where you use symbols and words and the layout and the space to create like a sense of what is the rhetorical function of a text. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if you haven't had a chance to look at the assignment, make sure that you visit the assignment because you're going to be picking a speech and you're going to be doing a rhetorical analysis of that speech. So on the Space Cat assignment sheet, all the way down, and after you pick your speech, if you scroll down to the end, you've got some examples here of what a one pager looks like. I also have examples of digital ones. Reach out if you would like to see an example of a digital one. But as you see, they're one page and they have all of these different pieces of like borders and colors and font that emphasize the argument that is being made in the text that you're analyzing. So you can do this either like these drawing, or you can do them like on Canva or another digital platform. It's really up to you. But you need to make sure that all elements of Space Cat are somewhere on the document. And so the speeches, you just pick one from this document. I've got several. You just pick one that you like. You include 2 quotes. You include visual images, your 5 essential choices and phrases, and then it's colorful and aesthetically pleasing. And then you'll have the rhetorical précis, and the rhetorical précis will be scored on that scale. And so a lot of what we did already is practice for this. And so you're just kind of putting it together in like a nice kind of mini project format. So you're not just taking the précis that you practiced last week, but you're also putting the visual components together with it. And so if you would like some additional examples, or if you're still like kind of needing some additional guidance, just reach out, let me know, and I'm happy to walk you through it. But on here, I have some rhetorical choices. So if you struggle with like finding those, I've got the rhetorical précis instructions from last week, and then an example rhetorical précis to reference. And then you've got your rubric there too. So that's kind of the big Essay 2 project that you have this week. I will be giving some pretty good feedback on the précis this probably tomorrow, Wednesday at the absolute latest, so that you know kind of what to look for. And then as you are finishing up rhetoric, you can go ahead and preview what we're going to be doing with your collaborative research and MLA moving forward. And on that note, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Happy week 6. And I look forward to seeing how everybody does with rhetoric. See you later.